beat 'em up developers constantly ignore you and fail to make your favorite game, there is hope, my friend. The development tool that will guide us is called Open Beats of Rage.
The 80s and 90s were great times to be a kid. Join me as I dive into the world of movies, music, video games and toys, and explore what made these decades so great. This is the Big Retro Show.
Like many of you, I had no clue what Open Beats of Rage meant, or that it would be used to create some of the greatest fan-made beat-em-ups I have ever played. Open BOR is basically an open-source 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up game engine developed by a group of highly skilled programmers and beat-em-up enthusiasts. The name is a nod to Streets of Rage, which is a game that they used to build the engine to what it is today. My introduction to the world of Open Beats of Rage began with a fan-made G.I. Joe game, and I was instantly hooked. This was the game that I had been longing for since my childhood. How could it be that this one flew under the radar for me for so long? I mean, I knew about all the games that were launched on consoles such as the Commodore 64 and the NES. Hell, I even know about the games made for the movie tie-in. But little did I know that all those games were garbage compared to the epic Open BOR game made by fans for fans. In G.I. Joe Attack on Cobra Island, you take on the role of either Snake Eyes, Hawk, Sergeant Slaughter, or Clutch, and it's your mission to decimate Cobra forces from Cobra Island. Luckily, you have a variety of combos you can perform and special attacks at your disposal. For example, not only can Snake Eyes kick ass with his awesome ninjutsu moves, he can also use his Uzi, the preferred weapon of the 1980s, to annihilate his enemies, and if that isn't enough, he can use his ninja sword as a special attack to chop his foes to pieces. But wait, there's more! Snake Eyes can also stick his dog Timber on his enemies, and he fights alongside you with the press of a button. General Hawk, Sergeant Slaughter, and Clutch have similar moves, except they don't have a pet to attack with or a sword. General Hawk carries a set of pistols, and both Sergeant Slaughter and Clutch carry machine guns. All of them use grenades, but Sergeant Slaughter's melee attack consists of a billy club, and both Clutch and Hawk use knives against their enemies. One of the best aspects of this game is having the ability to fight enemies that look exactly like they did in the awesome cartoon. They are all here, everyone from Zartan to Destro and that coward Cobra Commander. It makes you feel like you're playing a cartoon. Your fellow Joe characters are also thrown into the background of some of the levels, and it gives you that warm feeling of nostalgia while you're playing this game. The combat in this game is satisfying, but it's not without its flaws. I can't really complain though because it's made by fans, and it's free. That being said, the game's combat could sorely have used grapple attacks. The animations used in the combat resemble the animations used for the Guile character in Street Fighter II, most notably in the build of the characters and their kicks and punches. That's not a bad thing, but it's worth pointing out. The game also borrows liberally from Street Fighter II in other ways, such as the animations used in the fire attacks. It looks like Dawson's Yoga fire attack. There is some jankiness involved in this game, for example, this, and this, and this. But these are minor complaints and don't take from the overall experience of the game. One of the best aspects of this game is the way that the vehicle stages break up the combat. It's a nice change of pace, and I often see more modern day beat-em-ups use this as a way to add some spice to the gameplay. In G.I. Joe, of course, the vehicles you battle in are the ones I used to play with as a child, including the Sky Striker, the Skyhawk, the Shark, and several others. Another great aspect of this game are the beautiful graphics and the sound. The creators of this game used a lot of the same music found in the cartoons, and it adds to the overall enjoyment of the game. The enemies and characters in G.I. Joe Attack on Cobra Island are drawn extremely well and true to life. I'm telling you guys, if I would have had this game as a child, I would have died. The game is that good. Fighting the enemies in this game, and especially facing off against the bosses that I grew up facing off against in their action figure form, is quite thrilling. Another great toy franchise that I grew up playing with in the 1980s was of course HeMan. To those who have been watching this channel for a while, this should come as no surprise. Once again, the fans created a beat 'em up that's so spectacular, so close to the Filmation cartoon we all grew up with that it's damn near perfect in every way. The sheer variety of the characters you get to play with is quite delightful. Hell, you get to even play as Lionel. Well, just because. And he kicks ass. Even Orko kicks ass in this game. Of course, each character has their own weapons, moves, and special attacks, and the combat makes you feel like you are fighting in the cartoon. Your enemy in this game isn't Skeletor though. In fact, you can even play as Skeletor, Evil Lyn, or Panther and take on your own crew. You fight against Hordak's armies. If you recall, Hordak was the evil dude that was featured in the HeMan movie, which also saw the introduction of She-Ra, who is also a playable character. The stages in this game are spread out throughout the map of Eternia and vary from classic beat-em-up stages to one-on-one combat stages and vehicle stages to boot. The mix is quite refreshing and adds to the fun. The bosses in this game vary from the more obscure characters to classics like Beastman, Merman, and Trapjaw. The fighting in this game consists of a jump and attack button. Simple as good, right? But your moveset is amped up by special moves you can pull off by using different button combinations. The game doesn't give you much in the way of telling you what the button and D-pad combinations do, so you have to do some experimentation. In all, the combat in this game is satisfying. The game does have some glitches. For example, I was stuck in this stage and had to run back and forth and nothing would happen. I had to restart the stage and play as HeMan and start the game over again. When I got to the stage where I was last time, the game progressed luckily, and I was able to move on to the next part of the stage. Again, this is a game made by fans for fans, so I'm not complaining about this. I just thought I'd point it out. As I said before, the game looks beautiful and the characters are ripped right from the cartoon. The animation is deeply satisfying and provided the fan service that so many of the HeMan games fail to deliver. This is why I think this is one of the best beat-em-ups out there. And yes, I fully realize that someone who doesn't love the HeMan cartoon and toyline as much as I do might not think so. And I fully realize that I may be looking at this game with a set of nostalgia goggles as well as the G.I. Joe game I mentioned earlier. Anyhow, this is a game worthy of a playthrough for fans of the beat-em-up genre. I have never been the biggest Marvel Comics guy. Although I do like the MCU movies, I've always been more of a DC Comics dude, with Batman being my favorite superhero. But when it comes to the Open BOR games, Marvel First Alliance is as slick as they come. This is an awesome beat 'em up, made with the BOR engine, and as you guessed it, features Marvel's best superheroes and villains in an epic adventure to secure the Infinity Stones. And I'm not even kidding, you can choose over 60 characters including members of the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy, and larger-than-life enemies like Dr. Doom and Magneto. The characters each have a basic attack, a special attack, and a superpower attack that you will be using throughout your playthrough. Your character can also summon helper superheroes if you find a Marvel card, and some of them can fly and grapple enemies. There's a lot to do in this game, and that's because of the sheer amount of characters you can choose from. Your mission in this game is to obtain the Infinity Stones before Blackheart gets to them. You fight in various stages set in the Hellfire Club, New York, a moon base, Russia, and Asgard. The playthrough will take you over an hour to complete, but it's totally worth it and best played with a friend or two. The enemies and bosses in this game are ripped straight from the comic books, and fans of the comics will recognize them with little effort. Newbies like me, however, will have to look up the bosses to find out who they are. This, however, doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the game. You can tell that the creators of this game really love Marvel and include small details in this game that will make fans happy. Concerning my experience with the game, it was a joy playing characters like Thanos, Dr. Doom, the Human Torch, and several others that I've always wanted to kick ass with. The replay value here is off the charts because you can play as characters you missed playing as in the first playthrough. This is a must-play game for anyone who likes a little variety in their beat-em-ups. Boy, do I love it when people reimagine great games and turn them into something entirely different. Such is the case with Mortal Kombat Unlimited. The game takes characters from the Mortal Kombat games and throws them into an entertaining beat-em-up that fans of the OG MK will love. Of course, no Mortal Kombat will be complete without a lot of blood and eerie settings, and this game does not disappoint. You fight in various outworld settings against a variety of generic enemies. Much like in the Marvel game, it's the little details that count. The settings are pretty damn gory and highlight everything that I love about the Mortal Kombat franchise. The moveset is pretty much the same as most beat 'em ups. The combos you perform mirror the combo system that was introduced in Mortal Kombat 3. However, you don't have to push different buttons in succession. You can just spam the attack button to pull off the combo. You could also do special moves in this game using the same button combos that you used to pull them off in the Mortal Kombat games. You can also find weapons to fight your enemies throughout your playthrough. Most of the bosses in this game are characters you would face off against in the arcade, such as Noob Saboot. Now, I know a lot of fighting game purists will take issue with these games being turned into beat 'em ups, and I have to say that you have to play them before you judge them, because this is an awesome game. Have you ever played it? And the final game I'm going to talk about in this episode is A Tale of Vengeance. Talk about a deep story. The game features the main characters from fighting's best franchises, including Samurai Showdown, Street Fighter II, King of the Fighters, and Fatal Fury. Each character is out for vengeance in this masterpiece of a BOR game. Again, the creativity of the BOR community never ceases to impress me. The game takes characters normally enjoyed in fighting games and throws them in a beat 'em up with spectacular results. Of course, each character has their own moves and special attacks, and although these characters span Capcom and SNK fighting game universes, they don't feel out of place. They actually fit really well, and seeing them work together is worth the price of admission. The game's colorful graphics and backgrounds are eye-pleasing and will keep you involved in the epic storylines. The combat here doesn't get too repetitive, but there will be some characters that you would like to use more than others. The game's villains are once again taken from the franchises, which I have zero issue with, and neither should anyone playing this game. The Tale of Vengeance will take you a while to play through its 10 levels, so prepare to settle in. Most games that I know of in this genre span only 8 levels, and those are long. But this game is worthy of your time, especially if you are a fighting game fan. What sealed the deal for me with this game is the epic storylines. I just had to get my revenge for each of the characters. It's a game that is not easily forgotten, and one that impresses the hell out of me. And that's going to do it for the Big Retro Show. If you have a favorite Open BOR game, leave it in the comments, and I may do a part 2 for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and like the video, and I will catch you next time on the Big Retro Show.